Hi, Steve.
Hi, Jim.
I was going to start talking today about that specialty vinyl with, liquid in it. We've talked about those before, but I misread your text. You said liquidation vinyl.
Oh, well, there's a lot of that going on too. And welcome to Two Guys Talking About Records. It's the most exciting podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Facebook, YouTube, and wherever else we are shown throughout the world.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere, and you are being a part of it right now. My name is Steve, a very excited record collector.
And my name is Jim. I am a record store owner. I'm excited this week, too. We got a couple of nifty things happening with new releases this week. I'm thrilled. I'll show one off here. Ooh, fresh.
Ooh, yes. Ooh.
So this week, Steve sent me a text earlier, and it contained a letter from Vinyl Me Please. Just last week, Steve, you brought this up. So we're going to get into that. Oh man, is it an understatement to say it's an issue?
Well, there's some people that are, should we say, SOL.
That is the case. And so we'll talk about that Vinyl Me Please stuff coming up in a little bit, as well as I want to talk about more bootlegs, but very specifically Pink Floyd bootlegs and whether or not a recent, and by recent, I mean like this, this week release is going to undercut some bootleg market or possibilities. So we'll get into that on this week's episode here coming up in a little bit. But first, as we do each and every week here on the old podcast, we like to talk about our most recent pickups. And it feels like a light week this week, but light is in numbers, but not light as in content-wise. How's that sound?
I think that's perfect. Yes. It was almost a goose egg for me, believe it or not. There was like nothing until yesterday and today, and I had some mail come in. So,
I have to stop and think on this, Steve. We're 109 episodes deep, and I don't believe that there has been, I think I've had a couple where there's been nothing, but I don't think there's ever been an episode where you haven't had a pickup.
You're right, and that's probably an issue, which is why I'm still renting a place and not buying.
There you go. Well, what do you have this week that's new and exciting?
Well, I have Get Behind Me, Satan.
Oh, no.
From the White Stripes. This was the White Stripes record of the month. And no, it's not just a 45-inch, but they did give us a nice little 45-inch with it. This is Third Man Records knows how to do packaging. It also comes with a CD of it. So you have this. There is a book in here, and there's a book somewhere. Oh, it's in this one here. It's in all these different pockets. So it is a 2-album set. Very nice. You have lots of pictures in here. Unlike the Black Crowes Jimmy Page that did not want to put in a book with pictures. It's mostly just pictures because it kind of figures most of us, we can't read anyway, so why bother giving us text that we won't
Pretty
read?
pictures.
Yes, pretty pictures. And then there was the vinyl, 2 albums. And the first one is Songwriting Demos, and it is Alternative Studio Takes. You actually do not get the actual album in this box set. They had released that a few years back. Yeah, a few years back they'd done that one. And this is live. It's a 2-album live. So you got red and white. Shocker, right? But it's nice, sturdy, just beautifully done by Third Man Records.
And that's the current Vault release, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, it is. This is the current Vault release.
It's interesting that it doesn't have the album per se. It's just got it's the box set of all of the everything but the album.
Yeah, for me, disappointing because you listen to the demos once and go, okay, that's it. I understand why it's a demo.
I do have I've got one correction on you here. Yeah, and I'm going to attribute this to your busy pool time of year. You said 45 inch. instead of 45
Oh.
RPM. So it's a 7-inch 45. So we got to be careful.
There we
Folks are
go.
thinking it's just one big ass record.
It is. It's huge. It's huge. But so this particular record club is still going strong and making quality records. Okay.
I think the key to that is that they had the pressing plant first.
Yes, that's a good point. And actually knew about it.
Yeah, that's true. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Stay tuned. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Okay, from the UK, I have Record Store Day from the UK,
Oh,
and it is Rocket from the Tombs. This is their first album. Rocket from the Tombs has members of Perubu and members of the Dead Boys. This is where it started. It was
wow.
very punk-like, and I mean, it was kind of punk before punk. Is in Cleveland, but then these guys didn't last long, and they broke up, and out came the Dead Boys and Perubu. I couldn't believe they had this in the UK, but not in the US. I mean, what the heck, man? That made no sense to me whatsoever. So I went into Discogs because I really, really wanted this. Now, I had heard, they said in UK that some of these have side A on both sides.
Uh-oh.
They screwed up. So I did write to the guy that I was buying this from. I says, could you open that before you send it and verify that? Well, it's sealed.
Uh-oh.
So I guess we did not do that. Oh,
You're going to live life on the edge here and get a surprise.
Yeah.
Now you ordered that from a UK seller.
Yes, I did.
Wow,
Yes.
okay.
And so we got Live from Punk Ground Zero, Cleveland, 1975. It's the 50th anniversary edition of this. This absolutely thrills me to get this from that group, Rocket from the Tombs.
Here's hoping that you've got side A and side B version.
Yeah.
Not the mispress.
We'll let you know.
All righty.
I had these come in just today. Chemical Brothers, Dig Your Hole, because it has block rockin' beats, which I just love that song. I think it's the best Chemical Brothers song, so I thought I needed to have that. And Johnny Cash, this was his second one. American 2 Unchained. This has Rusty Cage in there, was a big one that he has, and Unchained is on here. Just a variety of it. It's not, of the three that I think of, it's probably the one that's the least favorite, but still I wanted to have it. So there we have it.
The only one of those that I've got is his American 5. It's the one that's got the covers on that. And there was a point in time where they made a box set of all of those American series available, but that proved to be pretty tough to get. I even tried getting it from my distributors, and it's since disappeared from availability there. So obviously the box set version, that's way out of print.
It's right up there.
You got one up there? Cool.
I do, but here's the problem with it is it doesn't go by album. So it says, okay, all the religious songs are on this one. We're going to have the covers on this one. And so it's separated that way. So you don't have the actual track listing. So if there is a particular album you like, you're going to have to pay maybe 5 of them.
Oh, I get it. So buying them individually gets you the albums as they were intended.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
and just that way. And you know what? I was looking, and the government gave me back some tax money, and I thought, what should I do with this? And I thought, just in case there's going to be tariffs on this stuff, I should buy it right now. And I think everyone should be doing that. Yes, just in case you're going to get tariffs, buy now. Couple of books I picked up. This is Mark Langan, from Screaming Trees, and he did solo works. And this is a biography of him. This was recommended by one of my commenters on my video. Said this is just a phenomenally good. It's a very dark book, but extremely good. So looking forward to digging that. Right now I'm reading a book on Jim Morrison. Wow. Talk about a guy with issues.
Yeah.
Which I knew, but is like, Wow. Yeah. Hey kids, don't drink too much. So, but this should be interesting. And then this, it was half price on Amazon at 501 essential albums from the 1990s.
Oh,
So we
cool.
have those 1001 album things. That goes for everywhere. This is just the 1990s 501 that are essential. There's one of these for the 80s too. They haven't put that one on clearance. Obviously,
How
the
many of those
90s.
are in your collection is the big question.
None anymore. I lost them all,
All the
and I haven't
90s,
ever
that's right.
replaced them.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, now
I
you're on
mean,
a
so
quest.
yeah. Say, oh. I at first I thought you meant books like
Oh,
this.
no, no,
No,
no, no. How many
actual
records?
albums.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now, I have two. So there's two of them.
From the list. All right.
Actually, I've been kind of building it up, but I've been doing a series of my favorite albums from specific years, and you
Yep.
get into the '90s, especially into the later part. It's pretty bleak. I need to do 10 albums. Oh, I only got 10. I guess those are my favorite 10.
Just the little asterisk saying my only 10.
Yeah, my only 10. But this is neat. I'd like to get that 80s one too. I don't know. I guess I'll read through it and find out if I want to get that and see if it's just kind of
There you go.
stupid or whatever. But it was half price.
Cool.
So that is what I got in yesterday and today. And I picked up the mail before my wife was even home.
There you
So,
go.
yeah,
That's always a
it's all
plus.
good. What about you, Jim?
Well, it's been kind of an under the wire day. These things, it just came in today. We've talked about this, and this was actually the episode we did, I think, on reissues that we'd like to see or issues that we'd like to see. We correctly predicted a couple of them. One being the Electric Six, which I did send you a text on, by the way, that those are
Yes.
finally shipping. But the other one was the Pink Floyd at Pompeii, and lo and behold, in my hands now. I've seen a couple of other unboxings of this, so we won't do an unboxing. I already opened this one up. Only got a chance to listen to side one of this double LP, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. But so for those of you who have not quite gotten through an unboxing on this yet, this is the black. It's a black LP version, and I'm just. I would be shocked if there is not going to be a colored expanded version of this at some point down the line. It's just because they put out
Yeah.
the DVD and the Blu-ray version of this as well. All of that audio remixed by Steven Wilson, and it's a beautiful package. Printed inner sleeves. The labels look really neat as well, but then you've got kind of that the black vinyl on this. Let me show you the label. One side's not bad, but the other's got kind of the some of the imagery from Pompeii on there. And then, like they did with that the Dark Side at Wembley, Steve, they included a poster, and this poster it's a behemoth. It is actually, I believe, a recreation of the film poster. I have to be kind of careful opening up here because it wants to crease on me and fold, so I'll have to hold that up. There we go. And I think I'm pretty certain that is. I haven't read on it. I'm sure it's out there, but it's a recreation of the original film poster. Now, a week or two before this released, and again, this just released on Friday the 2nd of May, they completely redid and upscaled the film from 35 millimeter. I've only ever seen the film on YouTube. I think I may have had a DVD of it at one point in time. But the DVD was in the earlier days of DVD when they didn't look great comparatively. I mean, DVDs look great compared to VHS, but they upscaled the film from that original 35 millimeter print into the full out HD 4K. I mean, in through there, as well as an IMAX version, and they released this into the theaters on IMAX with the Steven Wilson remix of the audio. There's no IMAX theater nearby here in Midland, Michigan. And I don't know if I'm going to venture down to Metro Detroit or Lansing to see this, but it would have been cool to catch that in through there. I just imagine it would be kind of a spectacle. But here you go. This is the one. We talked about it and willed it into existence. And So far, so good. Like I said, side one sounds great. The other thing that was kind of noteworthy on this, Steve, is that this is the original lineup of the songs. And some of the bootlegs, I think I've got one bootleg of Pompeii where they take Echoes and they reunite it, so to speak. But Echoes is actually broken up into two parts. It's cut two on, cut two on side A, and they call it Echoes Part 1, and then it shows back up on side C, the third cut in there, Part 2. So you've got a 6-minute, an 11-minute version of Part 1, and then 13 minutes on Part 2, which when you listen to Echoes, you want it to be a one piece, but it's not true to form as how it was in the film.
Sure.
So very happy to see this. I think you had requested a copy of this also, didn't you?
I did. Well, and here, once again, viewers, feel free to thank us. Send it in your notes to thank us, because we did say this needed to be reissued, and then they did it, just like the Electric Six. It's what we do here.
It
on
is.
Two Guys Talking About Records.
The funny part was it was less than a couple of weeks after we did that episode that they announced the Pompeii, and I texted you and was like, wow. So that's Jim, a fun one.
That poster, that's wow, that is big. Yeah, I always, it's cool when we get those posters, right? You get it and you have that poster, because we can take it, we look at it once and we put it in there, and it never comes out for the rest of its life. And no one ever sees it, or it goes up on the wall. It's the craziest, stupidest thing in the world, but we love them.
And that's just it too. I go through so many old albums that come through the store and say, okay, well, this one came with a poster. It is no more. I've actually got a Dark Side up on the wall here behind me that does have both of the original posters. So somebody was smart enough to leave them in there. But you're right. You get a poster, you look at it, you fold it up, and say, I don't want to hurt this. I don't want to put this up. I want to be careful with it. It defeats the purpose. And I guess if you were going to make the argument, the vinyl is meant to be played. We don't leave them sealed. The poster is meant to be displayed. If you go by that same ethos, we should be displaying the posters and not keeping them tucked away for safety.
And we're willing to pay a whole bunch more to get that poster, man. That Dark Side, that costing more because it has the posters that will keep sealed up.
And it was worth a lot more with the posters, I'll tell you what.
Yep.
Okay, just a couple of other new ones that came in. I haven't even had a chance to open these yet. I apparently now, Steve, am a Samantha Fish completist. With her latest album, Paper Doll, that came out a couple weeks back. I showed that off. I enjoy it tremendously. I got looking at my collection, and Belle of the West I had been ignoring. This is a 2018 album from Samantha Fish. Discogs calls it Country Blues. And I always thought that this was kind of the more of a more traditional but still good bluesy but country side of her from 2018. So I got looking at that and it's like, well, it's just one album I'm missing from there. I might as well bring that one in. I've never given this a fair shake, so I'll listen to it. And I think hopefully it'll make a good addition. But apparently now, like I said, I am a Samantha Fish completist.
Yes.
Just looked at, there was one hole there and I thought, what the hell?
Start looking for those bootlegs, Jim.
Oh, goodness. And then finally, the last pickup is this came out last year, late 2024, and I somehow missed it. And I think I missed it because it wasn't in either of my distributor sites. I don't know if this was a delayed album or how or what went through it, but I picked up the latest, and what they're saying could be last, Richard Cheese album. Our good friend Richard, who has watched the podcast a couple times and sent us that cool stuff. But I saw this and I thought, this looks darn cool. It's called Blue No Matter Who, Richard Cheese and Orchestra, conducted by Robert Ricotta. Kind of a cool looking cover on there. And it kind of harkens back to those old style Columbia covers on the back. Coverage records. They make it look like Capitol on here. And this is on a very nice looking blue vinyl. And again, blue no matter who. See what he did there, right? This one is fun. I've only listened to a couple songs on it. I've got to give this a deeper dive, but kicks right off the bat on side A with the Richard Cheesified version. I invented that word of Interstate Love Song. So,
okay.
And it has got, let me look at some of the other stuff on here. We'll call that up. There's some fun stuff on here. Let's see, Harry Styles, The Cure's Just Like Heaven. This one surprised me. Drama Rama. Remember those guys? And Anything, Anything.
Okay.
Let's see, Blink 182, Stained, Radiohead's Lucky, The Cars, Since You're Gone, South Central Rain from REM, So Central Rain, Offspring, Self Esteem, and Lana Del Rey, and then one original one from Richard Cheese, I'm Blue No Matter Who. So I think that it's going to be a fun one. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but that will be remedied this coming weekend as we go through. Lots of fun stuff on here, and I do believe that there's a liner note on here saying that Mark Jonathan Davis is a writer, actor, producer in Los Angeles. His autobiography about the 25-year history of the Richard Cheese and the Lounge Against the Machine band, Grateful, will be published in 2025. So there's going to be a biography. Maybe you can pick that up for your book collection.
There we go. Yep.
So we'll give that a thorough once through. But the stuff I've heard off of that one has been it's been fun. The Interstate Love Song, especially, it's just I've been a fan of the Richard Cheese stuff for a while, but have only recently started picking those vinyl up, and am enjoying them tremendously. So
sounds like a completist for Richard Cheese.
This one might be harder because I don't think there's as much of it on vinyl. How's that?
Okay, all right, but you'll do your best, and I know you will, and we thank you for it.
I'll do my best. So, as we do each and every week, I implore you folks to look for the Spotify playlist of the music that we talk about here on Two Guys. Hopefully, it won't be too hard this time around. Once in a while, Steve throws me a curveball. I think that the Pink Floyd Pompeii, by the way, is making its way into the streamers already. That one, the remix of the Steven Wilson stuff. Okay. So we should be able to have that in there, hopefully. But yeah, look for the description. It's the link to the description, or the link to the playlist, sorry, is in the description of both the Spotify episode and the YouTube episode. Pretty easy to find. You can kind of jam along and see what some of the music sounds like that we're talking about, especially if you're not familiar with Mr. Cheese. How's that?
Yes.
So, Steve, before we get to the bigger and more serious issue at hand, I want to back up a little bit and revisit the Pink Floyd Pompeii release. This, as we had talked about, had been a bootlegged album many times over. Many, many different versions of this had been bootlegged. And this, I think, is a direct result. The release of this officially, of Pompeii, is a direct result of last year's sale of the Pink Floyd catalog. Roger Waters and David Gilmour and Nick Mason, the estate of Richard Wright, I think were able to reach the agreement finally. And I had to do some research on this because that sale came through, and it was a huge sale back in 2024, in October of 2024. So yeah, the info I found on this is that Pink Floyd sold their recorded music catalog along with name and likeness rights to Sony Music for approximately $400 million back in October of 2024. The deal, by the way, includes the master recordings, merchandising rights, and the ability to produce spin-off ventures like films and TV shows, but excludes songwriting and publishing rights, which remain with the individual band members. So this sale was one of the largest musical catalog acquisitions in recent years, and followed many years of negotiations that were hampered by internal band disputes, particularly, here's a shocker, between Gilmour and Waters. So go figure on that. But the idea, though, that the sale of this catalog was the catalyst for bringing forth the Pompeii release, but this wasn't the first one. If you think back to last year, the Wembley Stadium, the Dark Side of the Moon at Wembley release, was also, I think, a more immediate direct result of this. Wembley's concert was also one that had been bootlegged. I think both you and I have had multiple copies of that.
Yeah.
And when we talked about how many copies you need, I think I've got 3 unofficial copies of the Wembley concert and the 1 official one. But the official one doesn't have those little pop-out astronauts. So,
yeah.
But the reason that these are coming to be is because of that sale of the Pink Floyd catalog.
It really makes sense as far as marketing to go into those bootlegs to put them out, because Dark Side still sells. It
Yep.
still sells tons. Wall still sells tons. But the fact that to most people, this is brand new product. A lot of people
Yep.
don't buy bootlegs. They've never seen a bootleg, whatever. It's hardcore people that do that. So now this gives them a chance and a record company to start making up for that $400 million
Yeah.
that they had to pay. So you got to recoup. This is a great way to do it.
Side note to that 400 million that you mentioned, the info that I found on that said that the original asking price all the way back, they were been working on this since 2022, that the original valuation of the Pink Floyd catalog was at around $500 million. But because Roger Waters likes to yammer a little bit and get political, the controversy around Roger Waters actually devalued the catalog by about $100 million since that time that they began the negotiations. Not that I think that matters. I don't to him a whole
Yeah,
lot. What's the difference
I don't
between
think so
400
either.
and 500 million? It's one less private island.
Yeah, you know what? And he made that up because he put out his own version of Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
So we know that he picked up all that money. He's good to go.
he's good to go. I just found that was interesting that
Yeah,
they would devalue that much just because of something. But I get it. I get it. I get it. You're going to
yeah.
get you're going to be controversial and you're going to spout a little bit. But the bigger question I had on this, Steve, and I'm curious to see what you think on this. This is most likely the first of many, and again, Sony is going to want to recoup as much of this as possible. I found it interesting too that the rights included both film and spin-offs. So obviously
Yeah.
we've got the Pompeii film being reissued, as we mentioned, in IMAX. They've upgraded. But they could literally do anything. If you wanted to get one of those old Saturday morning Pink Floyd cartoons with them going on ghost hunting adventures, we could get something like that.
I was just thinking of sitcom, and we'll have
There we
actors
go.
play the four characters there. We can have a sitcom, a comedy sitcom of these guys. Do whatever.
Maybe
Wow.
modeled after the Monkees. Was there a struggling young group
Yes.
called the Pink Floyd? And
Yeah.
oh, Roger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be big. I'm telling you, there's someone spinning it right now. Oh,
But
Roger.
when it comes to source material, though, there are so many concerts that have been bootlegged from Floyd. I mean, we're talking hundreds of different releases of dozens
Yeah.
of different concerts and BBC radio going all the way back into the late 60s that they can now farm from to put some of these things out. Do you think, Steve, that the more of these that are released, you mentioned newer fans, newer people to vinyl collecting may
Mhm.
not realize, maybe they in the back of their mind somewhere they might have seen a Pink Floyd bootleg, but will the mining of their catalog for this type of stuff, do you think that's going to undercut future bootleg market?
Yeah. First, I just want to say Record Store Day. Now we'll be able to put a live Pink Floyd album on every Record Store Day from now till
That's
Doomsday.
true.
Compete
That's
with the
true.
Doors. So, I first off, if I were to find an old bootleg of Live at Pompeii, I would probably pick it up because it's cool. It's old. It has the older packaging, but I think we're old school. That's why. If I was younger, maybe it might look cool, but I got this much better sounding recording as Steven Wilson touched it. He
Yep.
just touches it and bing, it goes
Yeah.
good. Uh, it, but I to me, I think some of that it's the nostalgia of these older ones that will keep that market going because people really they like to collect. And a Pink Floyd, we know, are pretty rabid collectors, and they like to have multiple copies. Because if one came in your shop, you would be really kind of, oh
I would be.
man, should I take this or not?
And the thing is, though, I think there's a difference between the older bootlegs because if you were to find a bootleg from the 70s or late 70s or early 80s, the ones with the blank labels and just the tripped out cover, some of them with just a sheet of paper in the cover, you know
Yeah.
you've got yourself a genuine. And the sound is probably horrible on some of them. But
Mhm.
more recently, and like the Wembley that I'd picked up fairly recently with a little pop out squiggly astronauts was a new pressing from 2024. And I picked up another one. I think it was a Japanese broadcast, theoretically. And the sound of the newer one, it was a 2024 release also of a Japanese concert from Floyd on bootleg, was pressed at the wrong speed or mastered at the wrong speed. I can adjust, I can pitch adjust on my turntable, but not everybody can do that. But I think that the nostalgia is going to be there for hardcore fans and maybe somebody who discovers Floyd and really gets into it, a younger kid. And if they see
Yeah.
that old bootleg for 40 or $50, they might jump on it. Whereas I think that the catalog sale might have a little bit of an effect on these other European bootlegs, the newer pressings of this.
Yes, agree. I totally agree. I think those are going to take a hit because this is official. It has a big ass poster also, while the other ones won't. So, and it, yeah, I agree on the new boots. I think it's going to hurt, but the older ones, I will stay strong for the nostalgia and just the
Yep.
cool factor. Someone comes in, you can show them that new one, but you show them an old one. Look at this, and they go, "Ooh,
Well,
cool."
especially those
Unless it's the one
newer.
that doesn't like
Yeah,
music.
especially those newer too. And again, the sound quality, the Sony's not going to put out a piece of garbage unless it's an absolute rarity of a show that there was no fixing. But Steven Wilson, you mentioned he's got that little Midas touch. Everything that he touches audio
Yeah,
wise sounds fantastic. And they can do absolute miracles with audio nowadays. I mean, look at what they did with the John Lennon AI audio a little bit back for that release they put out of the
yeah,
Beatles. They put that in there. So there can be stuff done, and we won't get into the ethics of whether or not you should tamper with an original too much. But at the very least, you should be able to go in and clean up crowd noise or
yeah,
rebalance or re-equalize something if the vocals are a little hollow sounding, because not all of these concerts from the 60s and 70s had the benefit of what they did with Pompeii. That thing was recorded professionally for a film, so they had fantastic source material to go from.
yeah. You know who I really wish they would do something like this with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You don't, you talk about great concerts, and maybe they didn't record a lot, but there's a lot of Led Zeppelin bootlegs out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Again, some's not sounding good, so there's serious collectors of Led Zeppelin bootlegs, and that would be so nice to see this kind of treatment given to their stuff, but must be contractual. Maybe Page and Plant don't want it or aren't agreeing. I mean, there's something in there, or maybe they need to sell their catalog for $500 million and don't go political, so we can do it. I don't know.
We'll see where that goes, but I mean that it does seem like a cat. And there's been a lot of catalog sales of recent. I mean, recently Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Springsteen sold his. My big fear with these, and I know we're drifting away from the bootleg side of things, and quite frankly, if the newer bootleg market struggles a little bit, I'm not going to be overly hurt by that. I think that it's good to give, well, in this case, it's not the band anymore. You're not supporting the band, you're supporting the corporate entity that owns the rights to the
Yes.
band. So it's not like that's the same, but at the same time, it still is an officially licensed product, and that's kind of the way to go. But the thing that scares me the most about that, whether it be Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, it's not going to be too much longer here. And I would guess that sometime this year, probably by the holidays, we're going to start hearing Pink Floyd music in commercials, in ads.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, no
for
doubt.
some reason, that's always bothered me. And I don't know why it shouldn't. I'm a capitalist. I own a record store. It shouldn't bother me, but for some reason it does. And especially when they take and they rework and redo the lyrics to make something sell a product a little more. Either way, I mean, yeah, they got to make their money back on it. But the first time that we hear Time kicking through an Apple Watch ad or something like that,
Yeah.
or Dark Side of the Moon for the next Blue Origin space flight for billionaires, we
Yeah.
go from
You know,
there.
they'll be able to make a ton out off those
Oh yeah,
commercials. they'll be able to get premium price on that stuff. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. It's, they really do have a great catalog there. And all our old rockers from the 60s and 70s are at that age where you might as well just sell your catalog
Yep.
because you're not taking it with you.
Nope, you can't. You might as well cash in on it and put your family up for the rest of their lives as well. I mean, that's going to go a long way for Gilmore's family and Waters' family as well, and Nick Mason's also.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting, and I think that the bootleg market will take a little hit. The newer bootleg, the old ones, they're still going to be cool,
Yes.
and I still will.
Yeah.
I still will think twice if I see a Pink Floyd boot come through. You know, I'm going to go maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I have 3 copies of it, but I don't have that cover.
I am now officially saying, Steve, and mark my words, I'm done with the Wembley concert. I have enough. I'm
Until
good.
Okay, right.
Yeah, until they come out with something different on that.
Yeah, they'll have another. Well, you had that pop-up cover was pretty cool. So I
think
do
that's
get why you did that.
that's the pinnacle for me, Steve.
Yeah,
And oddly enough,
which
go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say, which I did pass on because I thought,
You-
well, I got a couple of Wembleys.
You did pass on it. Now you're gonna, oh, that little pop-up astronaut. Never mind.
Yeah,
We'll see how far that gets me. The thing is, though, that wasn't even a club issue. That seems like the type of thing that would have been included, I don't know, in a record club issue of something. Does that sound about right?
it sounds about right. Yes, and because record clubs are cool and they're fun, and they seem to go under.
Oh. Just last week, you mentioned that you were beginning to have grave concerns about Vinyl Me Please. And this is a record club, the modern iteration of record club for those of you
Yeah.
that may not be familiar with it. You showed off the Third Man Vault. That is essentially a subscription service. And that is what Vinyl Me Please is. There's a couple of other ones that
Fuzz
do that
Club
type
is
of
one
thing.
I'm in.
Yep, Fuzz
Yeah.
Club, where you pay, is it a monthly or is it annual fee, and you get your pick of the
Monthly.
records that they press?
Yeah. Third Man's every quarter. You pay
Okay.
because it only comes out 4 times a year. Fuzz Club's once a month. Vinyl Me Please was once a month. And you would have you could choose what genre you wanted. Then they'd put up that album, or you could choose something else from their catalog if you so desired. If you did want it, you signed up for credit, which is why I had over $500 in credit at one time. Because I was thinking when they started, I was in Vinyl Me Please in 2017 when I began. And there was so much good stuff. And a lot of that stuff, it goes for high value. Later years, I just with everyone with vinyl, with high quality vinyl, I think it just became too expensive to try to get these titles anymore, Jim. So they were getting all these like new groups that no one's ever heard of and no one ever cared about and weren't buying it. And it was just this huge struggle. So I saw that, again, the bankruptcy thing. I was due, my subscription was coming due in May 1st. So on April 30th, I canceled.
Good call.
I went in and said, no. I had still $32 worth of credit. I should have spent that first and then did it. But I got trigger happy and canceled it. Oh, damn.
Well, you didn't want that renewal, especially given what happened in this time frame.
Yeah.
Since we talked about this last week. Yeah, just last week you were saying that you were hearing rumblings that Vinyl Me Please wasn't answering email, they weren't answering phone calls, and a lot of subscribers to the service were going, uh-oh, something's up. It's not like the signs weren't there. I think that the liquidation that they put out last year, the notice basically saying, hey guys, make sure you use up your use your credits. We're not saying, but maybe you should consider using your credits. And then you texted me this. You texted me a copy of this letter you got. Tell me a little bit about that showed up this week after last week's episode.
Yeah, the letter comes out. I had 3 different people text me this letter, so obviously people were concerned about my well-being.
But did you get one officially too?
I did not get one officially.
Really?
I don't think I got one officially. I
Huh.
don't remember seeing it. It might have been Vinyl Me Please, so I just swiped it as delete. I could have been. Go, wow, that's a bunch of crap, whatever they're going to tell me.
Well, here is a
But
copy of what you sent me, and this
yeah,
is interesting. It's not a bankruptcy per se, and I had to read on this. It's something called ABC, which stands for, where is this here? The assignment for the benefit of its creditors. It sounds like legalese to me, but yeah, the letter that you were sent, dated April 9, so we're coming up on a month on that. Be advised that on April 4 of 2025, Offbeat Ventures LLC, doing business as a DBA of Vinyl Me Please, executed a general assignment for the benefit of its creditors, or an ABC, in favor of Vinyl Liquidation LLC, which is an assignee, under California law. So a copy of the assignment is available as below. So the ABC is a means rather of conducting the affairs of an insolvent debtor as an alternative to Chapter 7 bankruptcy's procedures. So in an ABC, the assigner transfers all of its assets to the assignee in trust for liquidation. So Vinyl Me Please has just notified everybody that they have sent all of their assets, all of their everything, to a place called Vinyl Liquidation LLC to be dispersed and trust.
vinyl. They went to vinyl heaven. Wow.
Yes.
Or is
So
it vinyl hell?
it's hell. Net proceeds, if any, I love this. Net proceeds, parentheses, if any, are then distributed to creditors who file timely claims as indicated below. Experience has demonstrated that the recovery for creditors is usually much greater in ABCs rather than the Chapter 7, and the administrative expenses tend to be lower when compared with an average bankruptcy. So this is truly the end then for Vinyl Me Please, is it not?
This is the end. Yes, it sure sounds that way. I know they've been trying to dump product in the last few months. Your record of the month. Hey, we're going to give you 2 records of the month instead of just one for the price of one. So, but it was all old crap. It was all the stuff they hadn't sold. Here you go, and there was all kinds of deals. 3 records for the price of one. They've been trying for a while now.
Now, what does this do to the average record collector? I mean, yes, you're losing a service, but how many people do you think got caught with their pants down, so to speak? I mean, the signs have been coming. We've talked about this, I think, even last year. You hinted that
Yeah.
there was some issues coming at this, but there's still a chance that some people are getting nailed, and not in a pleasant way.
Oh, there's no doubt. For those that didn't jump on it right away or kind of just waited, I went and spent most of my credit in August of last year, and I didn't get it till last month. It took them that long, and repeated, some emails that, where's my product? Where's it
Wow.
at? And they did send it to me. But that, I was able to get rid of quite a bit of my credits. I said, except for $32. But there's no doubt. I think some people are stuck.
Now I asked, and let me call this screen up here. This is interesting. I've been friends with the Grock AI for a while now, Steve. I'm
Yes,
very polite to Grock just in case the AI decides to take over the planet. It's going to remember me
it's a
as
good point.
that cool record store guy who said please and thank you all the
Yeah.
time. But I asked Grock about the Vinyl Me Please situation here, and it talked a little bit about the history. Don't want to get too far into that, but the current situation and credit concerns, according to the AI, talked about, and what this does is this AI gleans, it hit a bunch of Reddit threads and looked for articles specifically dealing with the Vinyl Me Please situation. And it says that the liquidation and unfilled orders on April 4th, VMP filed the assignment for benefit for creditors, the ABC that we just talked about, as a form of liquidation, transferring all of its assets. So we just mentioned that. The move was reported by the Denver Post, signals that VMP is winding down operations with its creditors, given until October 1st of this year to file their claims. Now, the creditors being, the people that they owe money to for the manufacturing, and if there's any building rental or outstanding things like that. Now, the finding also said that customers have been complaining and reporting about unfulfilled orders, ignored refund requests, and a lack of communication from VMP. For example, one Reddit user cited in the Denver Post article wondering if VMP was withholding orders due to canceled memberships or because of financial constraints, leading toward requesting a refund to avoid losing money in a potential bankruptcy. I found that interesting, that maybe they're just not sending orders out, so they've got something still to liquidate. Maybe, am I reading that wrong?
No, it sounds like that could very well be. The other thing is there were so many people, they kept showing, we're going to be putting this out, pre-orders. Now, Vinyl Me Please, when you do a pre-order, you pay up first. And so you have all these pre-orders that they've taken money for. And you're not getting it. And they had these box sets. They weren't getting them delivered. Again, you pay up. So it's pretty bad. It does make you wonder if they're just kind of waiting so they could use that stuff for liquidation.
One of the bullet points that really stood out for me on here is that the scale of losses. And it says, while the exact figures for the total credit held by customers, and these are the average record collector customers, the total credit figures are not available, but individual cases, posted again mostly on Reddit, have highlighted significant amounts of money. For instance, one customer reported that they've got a $1,000 in unfulfilled orders thus far from VMP, and another customer estimated spending about $10,000 across 400 separate orders, and they still have 260 outstanding. So this example suggests that some customers are at risk of losing substantial sums of money if the credits and or orders go unfulfilled on the part of VMP. Yeah. Holy smokes, that's a lot of money. Even $1,000. Yet somebody on there with 10 grand? Holy smokes, man.
Yeah. And you know what? I can't see how those orders will get fulfilled because creditors usually, or from what I know, it seems they get it first. You know what? We have to pay those bills. And so whatever's left, well, let's give it to that person that has $10,000. Here's $50. Here's an album for you, bud.
Well, you're going to get your settlement at the end of all of this after the lawyers take their cut, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Now, what you've done some reading on this, and there was some here. Let's see the broader context. Grock does a good job, kind of. Are people getting stuck with large amounts of credit? Yes, many customers are likely to get stuck with significant amounts of credit that they may lose due to the liquidation. So the swap for credit system that they had within VMP, which allowed members to exchange unwanted records for store credit, has led to accumulated balances that are now at risk. So that's where you were.
Yep. It's $32. I may never see again. It's gone. Wow. Yeah.
Let's see. The likelihood of recovering these credits, the article goes on to say, is low. Customers are attempting, and I've heard folks mention this too, and I think you did, customers are attempting chargeback through their credit card companies or banks, but this option is limited to recent transactions within the chargeback window, typically 60 to 120 days, depending upon the issuer. So if you're sitting on credit or a pre-order, for crying out loud, say that you pre-ordered something a year ago, like some of these people, and you mentioned, been waiting a long time, you're outside of that window to get your charge back on the credit card.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah. It's really sad. And they were so good at the start, but you get big and you keep wanting to do more. And, you think, okay, we will go on forever. And you start making the mistakes. And
well,
of course,
these mistakes,
pressing plant.
Yeah, that was leading into this. They talk about the mistakes. They talked about leadership problems and financial mismanagement. VMP, I think you mentioned this. They fired its CEO, its CFO, and chief strategy officer in March of last year, so just about a year ago, after alleging that they diverted nearly $200,000 to a separate vinyl pressing plant.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't bother with the board. Hey, board, we're going to do this. Nah, they won't mind. We're Vinyl Me Please.
I mean, this sounds like it's going to be ripe for lawsuits, in my opinion. I don't know too much. I wasn't a member, but I can imagine that there's going to be some mismanagement on the part of, I don't know, were they a publicly held company at all, or
I don't know.
I don't think they were.
Yeah, I don't think so either. No.
But definitely, I can see there being a class action. Somebody will pipe up on part of the customers who are still owed. So you get your $30. You're going to get a $5 check back on that, Steve, eventually.
If that, Jimmy, it harkens back to the flood. How much money I've made off that?
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
So yeah, those class action lawsuits, boy, good luck.
Now this has got to be an isolated incident. You mentioned that how much you enjoy the Third Man subscription service and the Fuzz Club. You're always getting cool stuff from Fuzz Club. And I think you hit already on what you feel the failures were within VMP, meaning that they couldn't get the current or their licensing. Maybe they had some funding issues because of their internal issues that led to them not being able to license the better stuff. And that just kind of cascaded. It became kind of a domino effect, if you will, leading to ultimately the end for them.
Yeah, it sure did. If you don't have what people want, which then created that credit fiasco. I just more and more, and there's no doubt it just kept building. I mean, the last couple of years have been disappointing. I've stayed in it, just hoping that maybe they'll put something because it used to be so good. But there are a lot of record clubs out there that are very good, and there's some of the different record labels have record clubs, and people are quite happy with them. But I think it's more established. They have like a label behind them, which Fuzz Club, they have their own label. I can't think, but there's a number of labels that have a club, and so
their own, and so they've got a good foundation to build from. Do you think, will this dissuade you in any way, shape, or form in how you interact with the clubs that you're currently subscribed to, or possibly looking at other ones down the line?
No, not really. I think this is a one-off of complete mismanagement. It happens. There'll be others that will be mismanaged. Just stupidity. As you see that money coming in, and you think you're infallible, and suddenly you redo your office for $100,000 because you wanted that special couch, because you just think nothing will ever happen. And I would have no problem with, if there's a record club I saw that I would really, hey, yeah, I'll join, because you get a decoder ring and that handshake, Jim. We talked about that before, and that's what's important.
You just have to watch out if they start saying, well, if you don't like it, maybe you could take some credit. We'll keep your money. Yes. You get the credit. How's that? That's your red flag right there. That is
true. Yeah, and that's how it was. We'll take your money. Thank you for that, and you get credit. Yeah.
Yikes. Well, I'm very curious, as anyone of our viewers out there, did you get stuck with some VMP credit, or did you get in under the gun and get most of it back like Steve did? You can please let us know in our comments below. And this is not something, I think, Steve, that the vinyl industry needed right now. I think things are always, with the economy, and you mentioned tariffs earlier, things are a little dicey right now, and this is probably not something that we wanted to kind of have hanging off to the side as an example of what could happen if things aren't done right.
Yeah, agree. But hopefully lesson learned for a lot of other people.
I think Mr. White's looking at this going, okay, no credit. Let's take that off the
table. It was the first one I've ever seen that does credit.
Yeah. So, well, it's going to be the last one I think you see after this too. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, folks, I think. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, everyone else is just going to say, you're just taking the selection of the month, whether you like it or not. Take it.
And then what you do is you take it to your local record store and say, this is garbage. I'd like to trade this for what I paid for it.
That's right.
And I've had some VMP stuff I've mentioned here. I think I still have a couple here. Then they don't sell. I mean, they're overpriced a little bit. They're not titles that people are looking for. The ones that I've had in the past that have been good titles are snapped up almost instantly. But some of those off titles that people didn't want but didn't cancel in time make their way to record stores like ours, and they just kind of sit.
I have a few that need to make their way to some record stores, Jim, by the way.
Oh,
Yes.
wander in and say, I'd like to trade these.
Yes. Baby Kamazi, man.
There we go. All right. Well, I think that will do it for this week's episode of Two Guys Talking About, well, records. I guess we talked about records, right?
We did talk about records. We didn't
did.
show a lot, but we talked about them.
We talked. The playlist is going to be a little bit shorter, but we'll see. We'll get that 45-inch album that you mentioned too.
Yes, wonderful.
All right. Well, until next time, you have been watching and or listening to Two Guys Talking About Records. My name is Jim, and I own a record store.
I am Steve. I'm a record collector, and I'm getting blinded by the sun.
Well, it's a good to have the sun out. This is your time of year to shine.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Sure. Good.
Have a good
Very
week,
good.
Steve.
You too, Jim.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.